We've seen her speak numerous times before and not so long ago, trying to be the captain of our ship. And we definitely appreciate that. She's been a member of the Church of the Angels for more than 10 years, and she was ordained as a minister here in 2022 and is now holding, as I said, the position of our president of the Board of Trustees for the church. She studied many different spiritual topics, but has not settled on one specific interest. She considers herself a spiritual practice surfer and was so relieved when she was once told by a spiritual teacher, you know, there are professional surfers. So Fran serves spirit through message work and healing here at the Church of the Angels. And so along with her relationship with spirit, family is Fran's greatest blessing. She is one of 8 children of 2 phenomenal parents, raising 8 children, and is thankful for that all of her siblings are in fact living, although they're in various states of disrepair. I can relate. She's been married for 48 years to the same man and is a proud mother of 3 sons. She is the grandmother of 6, 1 girl, 5 boys, and 4 of those boys, ages 11 to 16, live in a conjoined house. 11 to 6. I'm so sorry. 11 to 6. Oh my gosh. I didn't think you had teenagers. They're all living in a conjoined house. My goodness, that's a very busy household of 4 young boys. She has 2 misunderstood little dogs who she loves dearly and who love her and no one else. Oh my goodness. She's got a 55-gallon fish tank at home with multiple flower and vegetable gardens as well. She's a wannabe artist and crafter. I think she's an artist in a lot of different ways. She retired at the end of March from higher education after 23 years in academic affairs as support staff. Before her positions in higher education, she held jobs at an international student exchange program and as a school system transportation supervisor. She also worked as a school secretary, a custodian, a telephone customer service representative, circus ticket seller, a banquet server, and a bud picker at a greenhouse. Yes, there's a job as a bud picker, huh? I guess she was a job surfer earlier in life as well as now a spiritual surfer. She's spoken, as you know, several times here before. She claims that she has an interest in many topics, but a master of none. She likes to approach her talks with humor and typically tells us something that we already know, but might need a reminder about to enhance our daily lives. She's hoping you'll get something out of her talk. I'm sure you will. No apologies if it doesn't quite resonate with you, but here's our wonderful speaker and board president, Rev Fran Dittrich. Thank you. Of course. Good morning to everyone and good morning to our speaker participants. So, oh, yes. The funny thing about responsibility, it kind of means something different to every person, or not every person, but every age group, the way that we look at responsibility. So, for example, as a teenager, we can't wait for responsibility. We just think, you know, I'm going to be, when I'm grown up, when I'm 18, I'm going to move out, and, you know, we're hungry for this responsibility. Although teenagers sometimes take some responsibilities lightly, and some they really are striving for. As a member of a family, you know, there's a long age group in there, but the responsibilities that we feel in everyday life can be overwhelming. You know, we feel like we have a lot of responsibilities, and oh my gosh, how am I going to fulfill all these responsibilities? And then when you get a little older, responsibility has the meaning of, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want anybody to have to feel responsible for me. So responsibility can be looked at in a lot of different ways. There's 2 other things about responsibility. You can have a responsibility or you can be a responsibility. That's just kind of like, you know, having responsibilities earlier in life, and then you feel like you are a responsibility later in life. So I thought we'd have a little interactive part here and ask anybody that would like to share what you feel is your greatest responsibility. Anybody got a comment on that? Okay.
For me, in the point of life that I am in my desires, my goals, my spiritual responsibility to myself. It is one of my highest priorities. And then taking care of my biological mom is my other one. So I've got the duet, did not do it, but both sides.
Okay. Anybody else? Cindy? Oh, Pat.
I think showing up every day. Life is full of responsibilities, and we can't do anything unless we show up every day.
Right.
So I'm supposed to go to work today. I go to work. I came here today I don't want to call it a responsibility, but it is to fill up our spiritual needs. So I think just showing up is our responsibility. Many people don't.
Mhm. Right. And River Cindy?
I'll tag on that. But to tag on to that, I think that one of the teachers I had broke down the word responsibility. And as we grow spiritually, as we show up in our presence each day with whatever it is that we're doing, our ability to respond grows. Whereas, and I know I've said it before, like, 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve, the mom who's frantically trying to buy dinner, she got tagged something for tomorrow. So her 2-year-old is out with her at 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve trying to get stuff at Walmart. Her ability to respond is probably a little stretched at that moment, as opposed to a typical day. So again, I think our ability to respond, we need to acknowledge and recognize where we're at that moment and do what we need to do to feed our souls so we can have a better ability to respond and take on those responsibilities in life.
Right. Right.
And Carolyn,
Thank you.
I can coach my boy. And it's probably it's called the Great Command. Lord, however you the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. I think that's the big responsibility. But all at the Hard Rock Cafe. Love all, serve all.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. A baby.
Yeah.
Baby. That's just
Right. Okay.
I almost brought him today.
Oh.
His dad woke up, in the morning to himself. He woke up and was like, no, go by yourself. I'll take care of you.
Nice. Yeah. Right. Okay. Then Dale.
I think my responsibilities depend on where I'm positioned to give comfort. I think there's spiritual insight. Try to help and a better place.
Okay. All right.
I think that's what everybody's been saying is, for me, be fully present in the moment and whatever I'm with, and to be of service.
Okay. All right. So that's it. That's fine. And we're going to go over this list in a minute, but first I want to read to you what the definition of responsibility is. And I was really impressed with this. This is from dictionary.com, and I was impressed with their definitions of responsibility. So they have a couple different ones here, and then there's points of this that I think are the most important part of the definition. So responsibility is the state or fact of being responsible, answerable, or accountable for something within one's power, control, or management. Okay, so now for me, the most important part of that sentence is within one's power, control, or management. So they're defining responsibility as something that you are the only one that has the power or the control over. Another one is, it is a burden someone is obligated to fulfill in order to meet a particular need. Now, I don't really like that one, yeah, but the
most important part of it is about a particular need. So just keep that in mind, particular need. So responsibility is also defined as the state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. So another sort of negative one, but they're talking about you being accountable, you being responsible or to blame, you know, for lack of a better word, for something. And then it is associated with good judgment and the ability to act correctly and make decisions on your own. So that is about you are making the decisions for yourself. That is that is a responsibility. So we're going to look back at our list, and we won't use names. We'll just go through. And so do we think the first one was about spiritual responsibility? So do we think that that is a responsibility because it is, you know, it's about yourself? So spiritual responsibility for me, yes, that is a responsibility. Taking care of your biological mom, that seems like a responsibility. That's not really a responsibility. We make agreements and commitments with people, and we make agreements and commitments with ourselves too, but that's an agreement. That's not a responsibility. And you don't have to take care of anybody but yourself. You can agree with yourself that you're going to take care of someone else, but you don't have to do it. That's not your responsibility. Their life is their responsibility. Showing up every day, yep, that's about you. So that is your responsibility to show up every day in life. Let's see, the ability to respond, yep, that's about you. That's about how you handle things. So that is one of your responsibilities. Let's see, love the Lord, that is your own personal thing. So yes, that is, to me, I don't know if that's a responsibility in my mind. I think that's a choice. That's a agreement that you're going to love the Lord. And love your neighbor is definitely an agreement in my mind because, you know, you're not responsible for anything your neighbor does. You should have good feelings for your neighbor, but you don't have to do that for yourself to continue on. So your baby, yep, your baby, we all think our kids are our responsibilities. They're not really, you know, I mean, you can hand your baby to someone else, you know, it's not really, yeah, yeah. It's not your responsibility, it's a choice. And it's a choice that is, you know, a really difficult choice to go against. But it is a choice. It's not a responsibility. It's a joyful choice. So, and let's see, depend where you are, and what service you can do, share your spiritual insight. Those are, to me, you know, depending where you are, service is not a responsibility. It's something that is a good thing for you to do, but it doesn't, unless you are doing it for yourself, it's just not a responsibility. I'll go into that in a minute. But the share your spiritual insight, you know, that's a good thing to do, but it's not a responsibility. Worrying about the environment, well, we all should be doing that, but it's not really our responsibility. Our responsibility when it comes to the environment is our actions, our behaviors. We cannot be responsible for what other people are doing to the environment. So that's our reactions and our behaviors. So, and then we had fully present again, and that one is definitely responsibility. It's your responsibility to be fully present. And if you're not doing it, you're failing at that responsibility. So the one thing that back to the definitions. So I didn't like the one about particular need, but really it is all about responsibility because it's a need that you have for yourself to thrive. It's your responsibility to provide that for that need. No one else can do it for you. No one else can make you thrive. You know, you have to be the one that does that. So yes, that is your responsibility. So, so I've taken a lot of different classes and, you know, as spiritualists, we all know, you know, this idea that your only real responsibility is yourself. But we forget it all the time because we're pulled by so many different things that we feel we need to do. But Anthony DeMello I've talked about him a lot of times. I kind of feel like a broken record, but he is a great teacher for that, about how, you know, the things that we do, many times we think they're our responsibility. For example, taking care of a loved one. But really, we do that because we like how it makes us feel. Now that sounds like, no, that's how I do it. It doesn't make me feel good, but yes, it does. It fills something in you. It fills something in you that makes you feel like I am a good person. I'm doing this, you know, I'm doing this. So he's a great teacher. If you haven't taken one of the classes here, I don't know when we'll have another one. I've taken both of them, and I have gotten a great deal out of both classes. So if that comes back up, then, you know, try to cash in on that. Otherwise, you can read him. You can read him. He's not here anymore. He passed, but his brother manages a Facebook page. So there's all kinds of things you can see on the internet about him. And then I recently started taking a course on Ho'oponopono. And what I found really interesting, and I'm just starting it, but you know, in the very first lesson, the guy, whoever, I'm not even going to pretend to say his name, you know, but he has somebody write on the whiteboard with the permanent marker, like say I go up and I write on the whiteboard with the permanent marker, and then he has someone else come up and try to erase that, and they can't erase it. So it's a good point. I'm not far enough in to know how much into responsibility they get, but that was really a good message for me, because it doesn't matter what other people do. We cannot fix or change or beautify what other people do. They are doing it themselves. They're writing their own story. They have those responsibilities, and you cannot really do anything about that. So that gets back into where Cindy was talking about responsibility. You know, part of our responsibility is how we react, how we respond to things. So I have another piece of paper piece of reference here that I copied, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It's from a person named, where's her name? I thought I put her name in here. I guess I didn't. Oh, well, it was some weird name that you wouldn't know anyway. but she says, from 3 reasons why taking responsibility is spiritual. And it says, if you are ready to take 100% responsibilities in your life, here are the 3 questions to ask yourself. Are you willing to own whatever happens in your life? So, you know, that's tough. Sometimes we have really hard things that happen in our lives, and we don't have to own the whole event. You know, we don't have to own the whole event. We do have to own how we handle it. We do have to own how we respond or react to the event. So that's one thing to consider. The other one is, can you discern between what you do and don't have control over? Oh boy, that's a big one. You know, moms think they have control over their kids, husbands, wives, they think they have control over their spouse. You know, you think you have control over your job, you think you have control over your money. You don't have control over any of that. The only thing you have control over is you. Like, try having control over your dog, right, Cindy? Oh, it's just a dog. We can have control. No. So the only thing you can have control over is you. So it's really important to think about, discern. Discern's a great word. I love that word, but discern between what you do and don't have control over. So when something happens to you, you really need to think about, did I cause this? Is this mine or is this not mine? It says, in other words, you only have control over you and how you respond to life's challenges and opportunities. You do not have any control over what other people say or do. See, this lady, she agrees with me. So are you ready to be okay when you screw up and when you succeed? So that's a good one too, because, sometimes we don't give ourselves credit for our successes, like our responsibilities of taking care of ourselves. We don't give ourselves credit. Like, wow, I meditated today. That's being responsible for yourself. And we don't think about that as something that we should give ourselves credit for. But what I did was I thought about, okay, so what are we, what can we give ourselves credit for? We can give ourselves credit for our words, our thoughts. We can give ourselves credit for our own actions. And sometimes it's not all credit. Sometimes it's good credit, sometimes it's bad credit, but we are responsible for our own bodies. We are responsible for our physical, our emotional, and our spiritual selves. So we are responsible for that. We cannot let how someone talks to us affect who we are. We cannot let so-and-so is mean to me and I feel bad about that. That's your problem. That's not their problem, that's your problem because you're reacting to how they are treating you. You are not being responsible with your own emotions at that point in time. But I have a little funny story to tell you. So we are responsible for part of our body responsibility is our looks. So when I was getting ready for church this morning, I got up, I took my shower, washed my hair, and then I dried my hair and I thought, I need a little extra poof in my hair. So I picked up a bottle and I sprayed it on my hair. And I realized that I sprayed on my face wash on my hair. So if you're wondering why my hair is kind of icky over here, I wasn't being present in the moment. I was rushing. I was not being responsible for my own actions. So I have to bear that responsibility of how I'm presenting to you. So anyway, but anyway, so okay, so one other thing about that is that we can feel like this sounds really selfish. I don't have to worry about anything but myself. Well, it's not selfish and it's not ignoring other people. You still have those agreements and commitments. You have a commitment to be kind to people. You have a commitment to live a life of love. But, well, I think you have a responsibility to live a life of love, but that's towards yourself. You have to love yourself first. But those are agreements and commitments. Agreements and commitments are very important too. They are what make our lives go. If we don't have agreements and commitments, even if the other person doesn't know about your agreement or your commitment, if you don't have those, you're going to live a pretty lonely and unfulfilling lifetime. So let's see. So that's what I have to say about our own responsibility. Now I want to talk about when we get older, and we become a responsibility or what someone else thinks is a responsibility. Guess what? You're not anybody else's responsibility. And so you have to keep that in mind. As you grow older, You know, some people think, oh, well, this is going to take care of me and my kids are going to take care of me. The government's going to take care of me. You know, whoever's going to take care of me. Guess what? You're going to take care of you. And you can take care of yourself in all kinds of ways. Like, how are you going to pay the rent? You know, how are you going to, how are you going to handle that responsibility? Well, you need to plan ahead. You need to be responsible for yourself. You can't count on other people to take care of you. That's a hard reality, but it is the truth. I have, oh my gosh, so many friends that as they're getting to be my age, you know, and they've lost a spouse or never been in a relationship, and all of a sudden they don't have enough money, you know, to take care of themselves. Well, that's your responsibility. You know, you have to come up with a way to do that. You can look for other agreements or commitments to help you out, but nobody is responsible for you but you. And many of the women that I know, they had a spouse. They thought, okay, well, when he passes, I'm going to have all this money. And then something came out and it doesn't happen for them. So you're not anybody else's responsibility. That is my point, is that that sounds harsh too, but you can love people, you can share with people, you can have an agreement with people, but you should not expect anyone else to take care of your issues because they are your issues. So anyway, I'm going to end here by saying it was my responsibility today to give this talk because I committed to it. And I have fulfilled my responsibility. It's not your responsibility to have listened to me, to have heard me, or to have liked what I said. So if you didn't like it, I'm so sorry, but it's not my responsibility. That's your responsibility. So thank you. Sure. All right. Any quick comments? And we need to make it quick, but Andrea and then Dale.
So if you look at the big picture, you can see the lack of, I don't know if it's that you should learn about taking responsibility, really fully understand it. Is there such a lack of personal responsibility when everybody wants them to make them feel better, and this person can fix it off? You can see the lack of self-responsibility in polarization, the issue. And it's a lack of responsibility. And feeling helpless. But like you said, our responsibility is to yourself and your connection, God's source, whatever you want to call it, because that's the only thing you can rely on. But go back to that. That's
Okay, and then Dale, and we'll.
So, we talked about the difference between agreements or commitments as opposed to responsibility. But at the end, you hinted in, and I think you're right. Once you make an agreement or a commitment, well, then it creates responsibility to keep.
Yeah.
So there's that. And also, you said, I agree with you that we try to control a whole bunch of things that we can't control, but yet it's not all or none. There's lots of things that we can't control, but our behavior influences it.
Mhm.
It influences other people. It
Sure it
influences our
does.
environment, and that creates, I think, some responsibilities beyond just our own self. And also, I'm interested. I'm influenced by what Deepak Chopra says in the Way of the Wizard when he talks about being the one and the all at the same time. And I see myself as connected to the divine and connected to everything that is. So that creates some responsibilities for the whole thing and not just myself individually. But that's just my thoughts, how I. think
That's your
about it.
commitment to the world around you, really, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for such a wonderful talk and some very thought-provoking comments as well. I think that's something to stick with me all week. And now we're going to usher in our time for truth and messages from spirit. So we're going to rise for our next song, brought to us by Chris. And I have no idea what it is.